Anyway, this melter. Again, I like to cover things through slop, and so we're gonna have a little bash here with Jimmy, our old friend James O'Brien. Chat, I usually don't pre-watch stuff. I don't usually do that. But I wasn't even planning on covering James O'Brien today at all, because it seems rather pointless, in a sense, like there are bigger issues at play. But I felt, when I watched this off air, it was so infuriating that I felt I had to. It is a mixture of some of the only good shitlib reaction to this whole World War III 12-day war fucking shite, and some of the most wrong shit in the world. Because James O'Brien has to navigate a very, very thin path for himself through the forest here. On the one hand, he doesn't want to be pro-Israel or not too pro-Israel, should we say, because they're clearly doing a genocide, and he's one of the Libya shitlibs rather than the more conservative Zionist shitlibs. And he knows they're full of shit, right? But also, he has to gently cradle the testicular sac of Sir Keith Starmer, KC, current Prime Minister, and work the shaft at the same time. So it's a difficult balancing act for our friend Jimmy here. And I'll just say this, he doesn't pull it off enormously well, and by it I don't mean Keir Starmer's penis.
About Donald Trump seems to be his belief that he can speak things into reality. If he said something is true, then he is almost trying to will it to be true. He possibly even believes himself that it is true. So abnormal is his personality. And as we've touched on many times, but I feel we've never really nailed it down. I'm not sure we ever will. I'm not sure it is nailable. But we have spoken many times about the media's inability, myself included, to properly chronicle something as bonkers as this. What choice do you have if the President of the United States of America announces that he has successfully negotiated a ceasefire? What choice do you have as a news...
Right. This is the point, right? And I sort of raised this yesterday, is that they either shouldn't comment on it at all, because it's just the ravings of a madman. Like, he might be the President of the United States, but he's doing the equivalent of scrawling racist abuse in shit on a wall. Like, you don't have to like mention that, actually, because he's a lying shitbag. But if you are going to mention it, you do have to mention that he's a lying shitbag. Like, it was so annoying. Even Al Jazeera were just taking him at his word yesterday. Oh, there's a ceasefire. There was never a fucking ceasefire. Trump just said there's a ceasefire and then hoped that the two sides would go, yeah, there's a ceasefire. And then when neither of them took any fucking notice of the so-called ceasefire that they'd both supposedly agreed to, Trump then comes out and drops not just real bombs, but F-bombs. You're mad that your made-up lie was exposed instantly, Trump. What a surprise. Welcome to a small slice of reality, you fucking Burke.
Caster as a news editor, as a newspaper editor, as any sort of commentator or journalist, the President of the United States of America has announced a negotiated ceasefire between two parties that were previously launching missiles at each other so frequently that it sometimes appeared as if it was going out of fashion. What choice do you have? I mean, they've got a little bit better, but the furthest they go towards, I'll believe it when I see it, is saying Donald Trump says he has negotiated a ceasefire. But he's still...
Right, but you do have to then go, but Donald Trump also says that he won the 2020 election, and that's not true. Like, you do have to, like, point that out. Because, like, for the same bullshit media that every single time they say... another 220 people were killed today in Gaza. Brackets, according to the the Hamas-run health ministry. So when it comes to them saying Hamas are bullshitters, so take that into account, The media in Britain, very, very straightforward. They can understand that process, and they follow it through. But when it comes to the exact same thing with Donald Trump, who we know for a fact lies about fucking everything, they don't do that. They're very reticent to point out that the bullshitter is probably bullshitting again. Because he's a bullshitter. That's what they do. Alligator says he's definitely not going to chomp on that gazelle. Like, yeah, he's going to fucking chomp on the gazelle. Because that's all he does. He's an alligator. Donald Trump lies, alligators eat gazelles. Don't come at me with this, like, well, technically the alligator and the gazelle live on different continents, or whatever, because I don't fucking care. You know the point I'm making? I have no idea if gazelles and the alligators have ever met. I'm not an expert in this matter. It still annoys me that the polar bear and the penguin have never met in the wild. That annoys me. I was sold a lie by Christmas cards. They live in the opposite ends of the fucking earth. The polar bears live way up in the north. The penguins are way down in the south. They don't meet. They've never met each other. They don't know about each other's existence. And I'll be honest with you, the polar bears have let themselves down. Because the penguins have won a trade war with Donald Trump, whereas as far as I'm aware, the polar bears have not. Embarrassing.
He's still the president of the United States of America. So him, simply by dint of saying something, it becomes news. Zoshalix,
I love the fact that you've sent me something. You do have to specify what and... Well, not even what, just where. You can't just say, you've sent me something. What, to my house? To my Twitter? To the Discord? What do you mean you've sent something to me? Where am I supposed to look for this thing? What are you talking about? Anyway, who definitely did send me something was Ella Bella Innit, who resubscribed and says, hiya indeed. And then gifted 5 subs, which I completely missed, but thank you. I will be your getaway driver for if you want to rob a bank or something. I will do illegal things for you. I'm putting that right now. Discord DMs, thank you.
Whether it's true or not. And you marry that. I never stop being fascinated by this, by the psychology behind it. I know it's not nearly as important as the people who have died and the people who will die and suffer and be dispossessed and lose their homes. But in terms of trying to unravel what the heck is going on, you have to start at first base, don't you? And first base is this marriage between a complete abandonment of objective reality, objective truth, and the failure or the inability.
Talking of first base, or bases in general, I didn't need to see this. I didn't want to see this. Do you reckon they're natural? I can't imagine they are. Nothing else about him is natural. So, big unnatural milkers. Thank you. You can all thank for that madness. You can all thank Zoshalix in the YouTube chat and send them messages of thanks.
Of the traditional means of chronicling our shared reality to keep up with the madness. It's so simple. It's like sabotage or arson. It's not a sophisticated...
Bilderberg, paper bag, and I'm game. True, but look, he'd still be able to talk. It wouldn't be as... I don't think they do soundproof paper bags. Although you would be able to keep the wolf from the door. So, like...
sophisticated game of 4D chess. It's just, if I say things that aren't true loud enough and long enough, they kind of become true. Insofar as my base will believe them, they'll believe anything I say, and the media has to report it. Even if... I mean, what did you think this morning? What do you do, by the way? What's the first thing you do?
Like, yeah, the media still haven't learned that they have to... Like, you do have to report to a certain extent that the President of the United States did a thing. Okay, cool. But you then point out, like, oh, he posted this but he's lying. Because he's fucking obviously lying. That's it. It's very simple. Yeah, Donald Trump says there's a ceasefire, and that's obviously not true. Moving on to actual things that matter. But the media have been complicit. The media have never learned that they are the oxygen that he needs to survive. He's always gotten bigger press coverage. Always gotten bigger press coverage than he deserves and than he warrants. And he's always gotten more balanced reporting than he warrants as well. Like, he's a bullshitter from start to finish about everything. So the media I think it's incumbent on them to point that out, and they don't.
In terms of the news, I'm increasingly aware of people who are
exactly like Farage. Exactly like Farage. Yes. Tess, that's yeah, exactly. It's a great point, great analogy.
Moving away from the news, I'm increasingly aware of people who are limiting their diet, leavening their diet of information, and I do actually understand why. I know to endorse the idea would make me a turkey voting for Christmas, but if you're still in the business of checking up on what is going on in the world, then what do you do first? So I've got on my phone, I've got the BBC, the New York Times. In fact, I'll tell you, I'll double check. I've got the LBC app, the BBC app, the Apple, what's it called, aggregator, the one that gives you glimpses of everything. I've got the Financial Times, the New York Times, and the Times. So particularly with the Apple aggregator, you get a little bit of everything there. So I get the Guardian, the Telegraph, the Standard, Sky News, the Manchester Evening News at the top of my feed. So I look at that, and more or less identical headlines, which is quite rare these days. More or less identical headlines saying, essentially, ceasefire agreed. And what's your first thought? Your first thought, I hope, is I hope so.
Right, but again, you're essentially ignoring, because you're a fucking hack yourself, the fact that the media has abrogated its duty to tell the truth to its readers or to its listeners. That's the problem here, right? If they've all gone with ceasefire agreed, when obviously ceasefire not agreed, and ceasefire consistently broken, that they're lying to their audience. They are letting their audience down by not actually informing them of reality, but rather being a stenographer for a known bullshitter. James.
Your first thought is, we don't want carnage. Your second thought is, I don't think this fits the facts as they are available. You know, I don't think that Benjamin Netanyahu is likely to abide by the terms of any ceasefire any more than he is to abide by, or was to abide by, the terms of the last ceasefire that he breached with regard to Gaza. Iran don't look to me like an administration that's ready to roll over and look a little bit pliant in the face of American importuning.
Yep.
And of course the difficulty of getting a clear line on anything couldn't be more obvious this morning when I tell you that Iran says, I beg your pardon, Israel says Iran has violated the ceasefire already, and Iran says, oh no, we haven't. What does Donald Trump say in that space? Getting ready.
Hang on, I'll show you what he says in that space. I'll show you right now, James. It's very good that you've not fuck off, Grok, you cunt. Get out of my fucking face. I'll tell you what he fucking says.
Out this morning because of one rocket, two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
That's what he says. That's exactly what he said. I need to keep that open, don't I? Because we'll be going back to it.
Ready to do a lap of honour at The Hague today at the NATO meeting. But what does he do now? Israel say that the ceasefire has been breached, lasted a matter of hours. Iran says it wasn't us. Benjamin Netanyahu, as we have established in the past and very recently, needs war. It's the only thing essentially that's going to keep him out of jail. So who do you believe? Who the heck do you believe?
See, now this is see now time out. having said that James O'Brien doesn't want to appear like too much of a Zionist, because essentially he's not. But what he is the thin end of the liberal Zionist wedge. Now, again, I'm not saying he is himself a Zionist, because I don't think he is for a second. I think he's actually been one of the better mainstream news people in terms of pointing out the bullshit of Benjamin Netanyahu and his government being shit. And the fact he's one of the very few that ever mentions that they have nuclear weapons. He's one of the very few that will point out that that Benjamin Netanyahu has been saying that Iran was going to have nuclear weapons for the last fucking 30 years or whatever, right? But the problem that we have with James is, like I say, being at the thin end of the kind of Zionist Hasbro wedge here, is that he puts it all on Benjamin Netanyahu. It's actually, unfortunately, a thing that Bernie Sanders also does, which is rather unfortunate. Putting it all on Benjamin Netanyahu and saying, oh, it's just Benjamin Netanyahu that's the problem. Now, I've pointed out that Benjamin Netanyahu's motivation here is to stay out of jail. But he's also a Zionist, a massive murderous, genocidal Zionist piece of shit. But you can't just say Benjamin Netanyahu bad, because he'll point out the theocratic regime in Iran. He'll point out the plethora of, like, American arseholes in the system. But when it comes to Israel, his criticism is Benjamin Netanyahu is bad, not his entire government is filled with the worst people imaginable, and that Israeli society vastly supports the evil that's been going on in Gaza, and the evil they're portraying now in Iran. That's the thing. It isn't just Benjamin Netanyahu. It's Israeli society. It's the IDF. It's his entire cabinet being evil bastards who have been... to the point where they're so bad that even the British government has put sanctions on a couple of its members. And that two of them are literally wanted by the International Criminal Court. Ironically, in The Hague, where they're all going right now to do NATO shit. Unfortunately, they're not going to be staying there to face the trial that they should face for their, complicity in crimes. But they are going to The Hague, so there's that. Which makes sense. It's the seat of government for the Netherlands, so, there's that.
Donald Trump lies like the rest of us breathe. Benjamin Netanyahu needs war to stay out of jail but can never say so. And the theocratic autocracy, or can you be a theocratic autocracy? Anyway, the theocracy in Tehran abides by or plays by rules that the rest of the world can barely understand, let alone agree with. So who do you actually believe? Who do you trust? Who do you think is telling the truth in the current space? Donald Trump says there's a ceasefire. Israel says there isn't. Iran says, well, if there isn't, it's not our fault because we haven't fired the missiles that you say that we fired. Good Lord. That happens some mornings, doesn't it, when we sit down together? Get to sort of 8, 9, 10 minutes past and suddenly appreciate for the first time the full scale of the problem that's sitting in front of us.
Do you even know what a plethora is? Yes. It's a large amount of something. What are you talking about? Do you have a different definition of that word?
So the three major players in this conflagration that some people have posited as a precursor to World War III, I personally think that's hyperbole, but you have moments, don't you, of wondering just how big the stakes may prove to be. Nadine Dorries, remember her, has written an article this morning about how a relative has...
Yeah, in what way is Iran theocratic that Israel isn't? Very good question. Oh, it's a movie reference. It's from the film called Three Amigos. Oh, well, I have not seen that. I thought that was a legitimate question. Apologies. So I answered it legitimately. Yeah, okay. I haven't seen that film. And I probably never will. Well, Jabrick. I would argue that it's not just possible that they're all liars. I would guarantee that they are all lying.
built a nuclear bunker that she intends to climb into in the event of a 4-minute warning being sounded. And she gets paid.
Imagine surviving the nuclear holocaust to fucking find out that Nadine Dorries also survived. You'd be like, oh, for fuck's sake, can they drop one more, please, just so I don't have to live anymore? Gutted.
Paid by the Daily Mail for that sort of stuff. But the three major players in this potentially apocalyptic conflagration, I don't personally think it is, but some cleverer people than me have at least posited the notion, are all untrustworthy. They're all known liars. Not even a Donald Rumsfeld pack. They're not unknown knowns or known, they're known liars. They lie and they lie and they lie again. Hey, who's the least?
I like that, yeah, the known knowns, the known unknowns, and the unknown unknowns. Who remembers that fucking gibberish? Should we have some Donald Rumsfeld just as a refresher? Jesus Christ. Like, they're running it back in terms of the Iraq War and the lies, so why not?
Reports that say that something hasn't happened are always interesting to me, because as we know, there are known knowns. There are things we know we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know. But there are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know, we don't know.
Like, brilliant, okay. Yeah, don't get me wrong, there is a logic behind what he's saying. It's just bollocks. It's just like, sort of, he puts it in a gibberish way. And it's not really a point that even needs to be made. Anyway. Is he dead? I hope so. Is he? I don't know. He is dead! Oh, fuck yes! I didn't know. Okay, well, you know what's going to happen. And it's far too hot for the crab suit, so don't even fucking start with me. Oh, come on, don't fuck around. Donald Henry Rumsfeld was an American politician, businessman and naval officer. He died in 2021, aged 88, appropriately enough, I suppose. What a wanker.
What the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
There are the things we do know a fuck about. There are things that we don't know we do know the fuck about. And there are things that we don't know a fucking about. To mix those two things up.
We probably don't follow events in Iran enough to know just how egregious their lies are, but we know enough about the torture and the oppression and the persecution and the criminalisation of all forms of dissent. It's the kind of country where if you launch a peaceful protest against the government, even if it involves a little bit of criminal damage, you could probably end up being jailed as a terrorist. Oh no, sorry, that's the United Kingdom.
See, this is the thing that annoys me. Because, again, I've already pre-watched this, so, you know. James O'Brien will point out, quite rightly, that the British government are trying to criminalise protest. It's a massive government overreach. It's disgusting. And yet, the Prime Minister of that government, that's doing that in order to protect genocide, he's about to fucking defend.
And it's to the United Kingdom that we turn first this morning. I don't know what the heck Keir Starmer should be doing. I want to run you through some headlines, if I may, because I think they highlight the absolute difficulty that the Prime Minister faces at the moment. And we've got another little echo of that observation I made yesterday. about this mad compunction to have pungent opinions. Got to have a strong opinion about whether America was right or wrong to bomb Iran. Well, I need to know first what the intelligence was.
Okay, James, you are not a person to talk about the footballification of politics, so don't even fucking start that shit. And secondly, I don't think it's out of the question to ask that the Prime Minister has an opinion on these things. Because, like, he has to have an opinion. He has to have a fucking policy to address this in some way. Like, even if he can't solve the problem, which obviously he can't, is Keir Starmer. The last problem he solved was tying his own shoelaces, probably, and that's about it, right? He's shit. We know that. But I don't think it's out of the question that he has an opinion on this and has therefore a public policy position, right? That's that. What the fuck? You think I'm asking too much for the Prime Minister to, like, come down on one side of a situation? Really? His opinion is the US State Department. Yeah, well, of course, we know that. Yeah. We don't have an independent foreign policy. That's been obvious for many decades, unfortunately.
Because without intelligence, they're almost certainly in breach of international law. And most informed people in that field either agree that international law has been breached or sort of fudge around the question of whether or not international law was too strict in the first place.
So again, he's just pointed out that the United States almost certainly has broken international law. And yet his criticism of Keir Starmer will not be he supports the thing that I've just described as breaking international law. Because Keir Starmer has said that it's okay that Israel and America bombed Iran. Even though you've just said it breaks international law.
How can you possibly have a strong opinion on that? Because it's your job. You've got to have a strong opinion. Are you for or against? Are you with me or without me? And you sort of see the same in the way that Keir Starmer has been talked about.
He's the Prime Minister! Oh my God, you fucking arse-licker. What the fuck is wrong with you? You're now bitching about people wanting the Prime Minister to have an opinion on something. On not just something, but the public policy of our... foreign policy of our day. Right? The Middle East being on fire is something he should have an opinion about. Like, unfucking believable that that's the standard you're holding him to. He doesn't have to have an opinion on this. The fact that he's got all of the information. Like, I understand you, James, don't have access to, like, national security briefings. You can't just ring up the fucking president and be like, yo, dickface, what's a haps? Speak to me, orange man. Like, you know what I mean? You can't do that. But he can. So he's got access to all the information you could possibly need. I don't think it's too much to ask that he has an opinion on this. Fucking hell. It's not. The criticism isn't even that he has the right or wrong opinion. It's just you can't ask him to have an opinion. You filthy plebs. Daring to ask the righteous leader, the glorious leader of our nation, Sir Keith of Starmer, to have an opinion. You need to get back in your fucking place. Asking the Prime Minister to have an opinion. Fucking outrageous.
Any measure, this is him speaking to Channel 4 News on June the 17th, so a week ago to the day. This, by any measure, is unfortunate.
I sat next to the President for the 2-hour discussion we had on the Middle East when we discussed the situation in the round. Absolutely clear that everyone was agreed that the Iranian nuclear program cannot be tolerated, that we must de-escalate.
But he's escalated it the moment he's walked out the door. He started talking about how Tehran needs to be evacuated. Enormous kit is moved to the region. He's not on the same page, is he?
As I say, Gary sat for 2 hours yesterday, had that discussion. I was sat right next to the President. Actually, we went through the statement.
Yeah, poodles often do sit right next to their owner. Yeah, that is generally how that goes.
Line by line. So there's no disputing that is the shared statement of intent by the G7.
And when he said that, it was true. I think the most compelling...
What in the fuck? Nobody wants to see that. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. There is nothing this man won't defend from Keir Starmer. This is the worst hack work, really. Yeah, I know I did see that story from Norway, but I want, like, proper confirmation of that story from Norway. That sounds like one of those things that might be true. I wouldn't put it past the Americans, but, like, I don't know. We'll wait and see.
Explanation for why Trump has done what he's done came in the New York Times yesterday when highly placed sources explained that he'd been watching Fox News and was jealous of all the praise that Benjamin Netanyahu was getting for attacking Iran and thought to himself, I want a piece of that. So Starmer was almost certainly telling the truth. Well, he was telling the truth about the situation that he found himself in. 1 week later, he looks absolutely ridiculous. It was Gary Gibbon asking the questions and expressing a fair degree of incredulity, but obviously Starmer was telling the truth about the meeting that he'd had.
Oh yeah, Keir Starmer was obviously telling the truth. Because no one thinks that he's a fucking morally bankrupt serial liar. We already established that. Al Green introduces articles of impeachment for Trump. Well, that's good, and that should be the case, but unfortunately it won't achieve anything. Because the first two didn't either. But it's still the right thing to do. It is a little bit banging your head against a wall, but, you know. Go for it, I guess.
Open The Guardian today and you will see the indomitable Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe complaining, with much justification, that Keir Starmer has not condemned the American attacks upon Iran for...
And this is Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe, who was literally imprisoned wrongly and illegally by the Iranian government. She was arrested and imprisoned in Iran. And even she's like, maybe you could speak out and condemn the bombing of Iran. Because that's wrong and illegal. Literally, she has more integrity in her fucking fingernails than Keir Starmer has ever possessed. She should probably be Prime Minister or something.
The obvious illegality, for the obvious breach of international law that they involve. So... he's getting grief from Nazanin for that. She also...
Oh, he's getting grief. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, he's the Prime Minister getting grief. Oh, no. Oh, the poor love. Honestly, I think we need to go out and bang pots and pans for him. To show moral support in this time of trouble for Keir Starmer. Won't anyone think of the real victim of all of this? It's not the dead Gazans, it's not the dead Iranians, it's not even the dead Israelis. It's Keir Starmer. Oh, he's had to put up with public criticism just because he's a bastard. An evil bastard who's supporting genocide and war crimes every day. Oh, my heart bleeds for him. Really. I'm going to cry. I might cry.
Describes the attack on a prison in which I think she was held as being a publicity stunt, an Israeli publicity stunt, and describes how she is terrified for the inmates of Evin prison. Benjamin Netanyahu.
Not Kevin prison, that's a different prison. That's a prison of the mind.
Doing things for the domestic audience there, not for the benefit of any imprisoned Iranian dissident.
Boris Johnson did. Having mentioned Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe, it would be remiss of us not to mention that Boris Johnson, as Foreign Secretary, repeated Iranian talking point lies. That clip was then used in court against her and added time to her sentence. That is true. That did happen. And this country is so broken that we then went on to elect that man to be Prime Minister. Cool. Very cool system.
So he's getting it he's getting it in the neck. Keir Starmer's getting it in the neck from one side for not supporting the attacks. Front page of the Daily Mail. So whose side are you on, Sir Keir? Getting it in the neck from the left, or at least from the rather more informed Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe? For
oh, because if you're on the left, you're uninformed. Bravo. Blame Jeremy Corbyn for it. Why not? Why not just blame Jeremy Corbyn? Because, you know, the Labour Party is the party of Holocaust denial, you fucking little gobshite. What a wanker. What is it, Maria? What is this? A very succinct media blah, 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 blah. What is this? I don't believe a single goddamn thing coming out of the administration. This is an absolute gaslighting madness. It's as if we're watching toddlers run through the White House screaming and smearing go-gut into the carpet, and the entire world has to pretend it's the Lincoln-Douglas debates. Basically, yes. Yeah, that is. Pretty much what I was saying last night, but more succinct. And brought in the Lincoln-Douglas debates, which is always good. By the way, I should point out the Douglas in Lincoln-Douglas is not the very, very based Douglas of abolition fame. Very much the opposite. Douglas was the then senator from Illinois that Lincoln was trying to overtake, and failing on that particular occasion.
Not condemning the attacks for their illegality. Getting it, I don't know, who else? Let me have a look at my inbox. Let me see who else is slagging him off, and indeed what for.
Oh no! People are slagging off the Prime Minister, and it's making James O'Brien's winky sad. I'm sorry, I think we're going to have to get, like, some sort of scientific advancement to find a sub-particle violin for me to play. Because the violins that are currently available are still too big. We need to find some sort of a quark-sized violin, perhaps, to play.
I may find something in a moment, but what do you mean, whose side are you on, Sir Keir? You're on the side of international law, surely. He is, after all, a lawyer. And international law appears to have been breached, but he can't say that.
What do you mean he can't fucking say that? What do you possibly mean you can't say that? Fucking, the leader of France said it. Fucking Macron. Little fucking prick-faced Macron. That little wanker. Even he came out and said it. Even he came out and said there was no legal basis for America striking Iran. He fucking said it. And he's going to go to the Netherlands and face off against him. But our little lapdog, he can't be expected. He's just a lawyer who knows a lot about international law and has been consistently supporting the breaking of international law. And indeed has been breaking international law himself, for at least for the last 18 months. Well, actually, no, he hasn't been Prime Minister for that long. But ever since he became Prime Minister, he's been doing that. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Like, I don't... The fact that he's a lawyer makes it worse. Because he's been doing the war crimes and won't even say, oh, yeah, that's a war crime. Even though he knows it is. Because he's been trained in this shit.
Because it would alienate his ally Donald Trump. I don't know that I can answer the question that I'm about to ask you.
Never ask a question that you don't already know the answer to, James.
But I'm going to ask it anyway. Well, how do we do this? Do I say, what would you do if you were Keir Starmer? Does that actually make it easier to answer than if I simply say, what do you want Keir Starmer to do, or what do you think Keir Starmer should do? I presume the answer to the last two questions is the same. What do you want him to do? What do you think he should do?
Why would they be the same? Like, what I want him to do is to, like, kick Donald Trump in the dick. Do I think he should do that? Probably not. Actually, no. That probably wouldn't be a good thing to do. It just in general, as a diplomat, you know? So, like, what I want him to do and what I think he should do are two very different things, actually, James. Yeah, he should resign. Yeah, is the point. Absolutely. He won't, of course, because he's a cunt, but, you know.
But what would you do? What can he do? I don't think, and I don't like the sort of denigration of the UK status. We're not the power we were before Suez or before the Second World War. Obviously we're not, and, you know, for good or for ill. But equally, we are still punching way, way, way above our weight on the international stage.
And yet you'll support us spending 5% on fucking defence because you're a Keir Starmer ball licker. Whatever the dear leader wants, you'll go with.
And Keir Starmer has probably been more successful in terms of international diplomacy than he has on the domestic stage, certainly.
That is one way of putting it. He's probably been better on foreign policy than on domestic policy. Yeah, his foreign policy has been dog shit, but his domestic policy has been worse. Like, you have just polished that turd with a level of professionalism that I didn't even think you were capable of, James. Well done. You have spun that ball of dung very, very nicely. It's beautiful. Honestly, as a person who has watched many a propagandist at work, I have to just in a kind of Machiavellian sense, I have to sort of admire what you just did there. That little sleight of hand. That is one hell of a positive way of putting that. Because again, just to reiterate, what James said there was that he's probably been more successful in terms of foreign policy than domestic policy. The truth of it is, everything he's done has been bad and shite. It's just, at least when he stands next to Volodymyr Zelensky, he gets some like reflected coolness, I suppose. Like, he gets to look like a statesman. And he's taller than him, so like he kind of looks... It's one of the few people who makes, you know, he can look a bit kind of over, you know. Just saying.
In terms of getting the message across, getting the story across. So what he has been doing is attempting to bring a sort of lawyer's rationale to an utterly irrational situation where Netanyahu and Trump are calling almost all the shots.
Right, he could criticise them in any way whatsoever, though. Like, even if, James, you don't think he should call out war crimes as war crimes, which apparently appears to be your very copy position here. And by the way, I think we're going to need the Copacabana, so if someone wants to link that. Yeah, that appears to be your very copy position. Surely, you would be okay with him at least mildly criticising either of these men, which he also fails to do regularly. Right?
What on earth should he be doing? 0345 606 0973. The third piece, the third point on the triangle would be in Rupert Murdoch's Times this morning, where an unbiased...
Also, James, you don't get to be like, in Rupert Murdoch's Times, in order to devalue that, when your dear leader regularly writes for the fucking Sun newspaper, also owned by Rupert Murdoch. Technically, I'm not sure if he does own it anymore, or whether it's his son that owns the business, or whatever the fuck it is. Anyway, the Murdoch family, the right-wing evil empire, okay? You don't get to play that card because you're supporting the guy who is basically a Sun columnist at this point.
Highline analysis asks, how did Starmer get it so wrong on Trump and Iran? So you get a kicking from that side, a kicking from the other side.
Oh, wow, it's almost as if your policies are shit, mate, yeah.
You are coping and seething. You just can't accept what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping and seething. The truth it is scalding, and now you are molding and coping so hard. Coping and seething.
A kicking from sides you didn't even know existed. David Lammy, emerged from a meeting with Donald Trump, or with Marco Rubio, I think yesterday, I beg your pardon, on Thursday of last week, convinced that Trump genuinely wants a deal. And then
Wow! David Lammy, the man who was bought for the price of 2 meals. A man who forgot about fascism for the price of just 2 meals. That guy was wrong about something. That guy's a lying shitbag. Well, butter my ballsack. I would never have believed it.
the next thing you know, he's dropping enormous bombs, the biggest bombs in the world. For once, Trump's hyperbole actually fits the facts. At about shortly after 5 a.m. UK.
The biggest bomb he dropped, though, was this one.
So long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Dropping F-bombs. Unbelievable.
UK time on Saturday. with the UK government for most of that day completely unaware of what was happening. So when Donald Trump is a liar, Benjamin Netanyahu's motivation is self-preservation and cynicism at all costs, and Iran is run by a medieval theocracy, what should Keir Starmer be doing?
How is he, again, as someone pointed out quite rightly in chat, how is Iran theocratic in a way that Israel is not? Rather F-bombs than H-bombs. That is true. Yeah, no, I don't mind the F-bombs by comparison, but come on. Come on. Again, I don't think it's too much to ask of an American president not to swear in public. Again, in private, and I've been through this, right? This was the problem with the Zelensky White House press thing, right, where they fucking ambushed the guy. In private, I assume an American president and vice president scream and shout and fucking call people names and swear and all sorts of things, because they're arseholes. Anyone who wants to be president of the United States is mentally fucked. Anyone who wants that position and fights hard for it is a fucking mental case of epic, like, generational proportions. So I assume they behave that way. But in public, you do have to, like, have a certain level of fucking decorum, surely. Like, I'm not expecting him to be the most well-spoken or erudite of chaps, although if he could string a sentence together, that would be good. But just, yeah, I mean, like, don't be fucking swearing. Like, you know kids are going to see that shit, right? You are supposed to be kind of a role model, in a way. Kev, I'm in Wales. Oh, cool, 255. Are you on holiday? Are you working? Are you lost? Like, how are you? Why are you in Wales? Wales is lovely, by the way. I've got a lot of love for Wales, but that's not where you're usually. So how come you are? This is democracy. Does democracy manifest? Yes. Get your hand off my penis.
What can Keir Starmer do? What would you like him to do? I can list all the things he's doing wrong, but what would being right look like?
Doing anything to stop the genocide? Doing anything. Literally a single fucking thing to stop it would be cool. That would be better than what they are currently doing, which is aiding and abetting it. Because, like, let's not forget that you remember the flour massacre, where Israel killed all of those people? Waiting for flour? They're doing that basically every day now. They're doing that all the time. And blaming Hamas, because apparently it's a Hamas tactic to queue patiently for food now. And that's a bad thing. Dingus Van Sant, Kev, I'm in Wales. Fuck off now. We're not doing memes like this. No. Dingus, you're not in Wales. Unless you are in Wales, I don't know where you're from, Dingus. You could actually just be in Merthyr Tydfil. I have no idea. I don't know where you're from. You can dox yourself if you wish.
And I will take any answer you've got on this. Obviously, there's going to be two answers to this question that are diametrically opposed to each other, but that...
Oh, cool. You saw a trans flag in Anglesey. Dope. Dope. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Anglesey says trans rights.
That in many ways is the point. I could take a call from one person saying Keir Starmer should do this, and another call from another equally intelligent, equally informed and thoughtful person saying Keir Starmer should be doing that. And those two things will be utterly unsustainable in parallel. There's no earthly way he could do both things at the same time, which is a rare moment for a politician.
Phil, that's weird. Phil says, Kev, I'm in the corpse of Donald Rumsfeld. Fair.
The Daily Mail could not make it clearer that it doesn't like thinking beyond the what colour is your scarf, whose side are you on, why aren't you in favour?
It's so annoying, it's so infuriating. You are a fucking Keir Starmer dick rider par excellence. You are one of the biggest cockwashers for him. And yet you're out here like, these other people are very partisan. They see it as one side versus another side. The fuck? You fucking hypocritical knob end. Ugh. So annoying. I'm near where Trump's mum was from. Oh, you're in Scotland. My neighbours have a trans right flag in the window of their car. Please clap. Well, why don't you have one, Bonnie? Do you hate trans people? Everyone bully Bunny in the box for being a Brummy transphobe.
Favourite, how can you do? And it's so bone numb. It's so mind-numbingly thick. This approach to international diplomacy. We're talking about nuclear facilities. Whose side are you on, Sir Keir? Are you on the side of the nuclear power that still to this day officially denies that it's a nuclear power, or are you on?
Why? See, that's what I mean. He's one of the very few in the British media who I don't need to put this sign up for. I mean, I have, just to show you what I mean, but he's one of the very few in the British media that I don't need to put this up for, because he will mention it, that Israel has nuclear weapons. Which is a very pertinent point in this whole discussion, but very rarely gets brought up.
On the side of the country that's not a nuclear power. Oh, you must pick a side, and it's just been bombed because of claims that it may be about to become a nuclear power, but we've been hearing the same claim since 1992, from the power that is actually nuclear, from the state that is a nuclear power but isn't a signatory to any international treaties.
See, now that's fucking dope. By the way, I know exactly where you live now. Oh no! Oh no, that's 255, sorry. Oh, and actually there's no... Oh, I thought I saw an address. Sorry. No, okay, that's a trans pride flag. Do I want to... Yeah, well, it's Anglesey, whatever, who cares? Anyway, boom. No offence to Anglesey, I just mean like, whatever. Israel does have nuclear weapons, this is true.
In order to persist in the, what do they call it, the deliberate opacity regarding its own nuclear capabilities. So whose side are you on? I thump desk. Whose side are you on? Goodness me, it's so stupid. It's so dangerous and it's so normal.
Because you've normalised it. Or helped normalise it. You've done this, James. You are the footballification of politics.
It's so normal. And Keir Starmer, for good or for ill, doesn't play that game.
No, he's a renegade. He's awesome. Any thoughts on the fact that he's going to have to rely on Conservative votes to try and get his cuts to disabled people? Any thoughts on that, James? No? Okay.
I got Priti Patel offering up her views on this without anybody mentioning that she got fired by Theresa May for conducting secret meetings with the Israeli regime. Who wouldn't want to hear her impartial,
Good point.
Biased and objective views?
See, this is the annoying thing. He'll make a very good point, and then but would still be James O'Brien and say dumb shit afterwards, straight afterwards. Priti Patel, yeah, she got fired from the government for being basically a fucking Israeli spy, and then they put her back in the government as Home Secretary later on. But then go back to being like, oh no, Keir Starmer's cool. Amazing.
Matter that the Israeli regime is up to its neck in. Who could possibly be a more fair commenter than a woman sacked from the British cabinet for having secret meetings with the Israeli administration? Extraordinary. But that's Brexit Britain. I haven't even mentioned Daniel Hernandez.
Oh, God almighty. He's worse than the fucking Liberal Democrats. Even this he managed to turn into a Brexit discussion. Fucking hell.
Yeah, happy Daniel Hernandez. We will be marking it properly, with all the pomp and circumstance and tradition that you would expect. 9 years to the day since the world's wrongest man offered up his vision of what Brexit would look like on June the 24th, 2025. But before all of that, when I arrived at...
Brexit! Oh, Brexit.
work this morning, there was a ceasefire. When I prepared to record...
No, there wasn't. There was never a ceasefire. You've literally already explained how Donald Trump talks shit and tries to, like, will something into the world. You've already explained that bit at the top of this segment. And now you're saying, when I started work, there was a ceasefire. No, there wasn't. There was never a fucking ceasefire. Donald Trump lied. Because he's a fucking liar. And lying has worked really well throughout most of his life. It's just occasionally it comes a cropper, because reality has an unfortunate situation of getting in the way sometimes. Now, most of the time he's been able to get around that with bankruptcy laws and stuff, but like, when it comes to war, there's no hiding it. Difficult to imagine that bombs aren't falling when bombs are definitely falling.
Introduction to the programme at about 9:30 there was not. The ceasefire was over. You scratch the surface of that situation and you find that the country claiming the ceasefire is over is Israel, because they say Iran has fired missiles. We had some anecdotal evidence in our inbox that people in Israel were in shelters and were witnessing missiles being fired, but Iran say they are not. Keir Starmer's job is to somehow plot a diplomatic course through this mess, and I, for one, have no idea what it would look like.
Because your lack of imagination is truly astonishing, James. Hang on, we'll pause that. James, you are genuinely one of the most infuriating fucking people in the media. Not because you're the worst, because you're definitely not, but you can say so many right things like Israel has nuclear weapons, Israel attacked first, Israel is bombing and killing people in Gaza, Benjamin Netanyahu is a fucking monster, Donald Trump lies all the time, and then defend Keir Starmer, who defends all of those things. Which makes your critique of those things and your pointing out of those things not necessarily pointless, but basically sort of moot, I suppose. Sort of. It's very, very fucking annoying. It's very annoying. It's not the most annoying thing about that situation. That would be the genocide and the war. But this is also annoying. Your ceaseless client journalism on behalf of the current Prime Minister is nauseating when he is in fact up to his neck in this genocide. We have been, I say we, the British government, the British state, has been giving diplomatic support to Israel, has been potentially refueling its planes for its bombings of Iran, has been doing reconnaissance flights from RAF Akrotiri, has indeed been allowing Israelis to land planes potentially on RAF Akrotiri for a very long time, as part of a special friendship relationship, etc., etc. You are defending the Prime Minister who's allowed all of this. And for that, you should be damned. It's one thing to be crafty wank, talking shit, because he's an ignorant prick who doesn't know any better. I can give him that out of saying he's too stupid to know that a lot of the things he believes are wrong. I can't give you that out. You are intelligent enough, have access to enough information, because you literally have repeated a lot of this, to know better, and yet you still don't. Which means it's bullshit. You're doing bullshit and propaganda on behalf of this genocidal government. Fuck off.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?